My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, September 9th. A little bit late, but good grief. We have been on the Murdaugh and the Letecia Stout preliminary hearing all day. Every hour, something new comes up.
Yeah, you tweeted some of that out, right?
Yeah, a lot of it out. It has
You
been
a tweeter, you little Twitter.
Yeah, it's been so crazy with the Murdaugh case, especially with all the stuff coming out, and it's starting to get really murky. But real quick, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Two Cool T-Shirt Quilts. You can go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/pretty lies and alibis and check out what Miss Andrea has to offer, which is amazing stuff. Awesome products, good for gifts, good for sentimental reasons, all of it. So go check her out.
Yeah, it's not your ordinary T-shirt quilt.
No, they're very
It's
nice,
really,
very
really
awesome.
cool.
Use
Yeah,
it every
really cool.
day. We have some achievements unlocked. Ding, ding, ding. This was on our Spreaker. And so I looked and I thought, well, okay, cool. They said we had passed 100,000 downloads on Spreaker, which was a big deal. And
Yeah.
then I kind of thought, I've seen higher numbers. That was sent to us months ago. And so now on Spreaker, we have had 402,409 downloads of this podcast just on their app. That's not including Apple and all that. It just blew us away.
That is crazy.
And and what do you think about that? It's just because we started in this tiny little closet and we talked about that last time.
Yep, we started in the little closet and it was rough. It was, I'd never done it, so.
Yeah, you did good though.
Yeah. But it was fun. I mean,
yeah,
we just kind of jumped in. We kind of just jumped off a diving board without a life jacket or, not being able to swim and
fail me not.
learn to swim as we have went down this crazy case, whatever.
Yeah. And also we just found out that we have surpassed over 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is huge.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's really cool.
And we promised the YouTubers once our faces are not as swollen from this COVID junk, we will start back to doing video.
Yeah. Well, my blood pressure's been up, so mine's swollen.
Yeah. And I'm swollen from just COVID and I'm not doing that, y'all. So anyways, let's jump in this. We're going to start with the Murdaugh saga from today. And, SLED still has not validated anything that Jim Griffin, who is Alex's lawyer, none of the narrative that this lawyer has pushed has been validated at all by SLED. And it's been almost a week.
Yeah, that's crazy. Normally, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, there was never any suspect description given out for the double murder. And then to me, it speaks volumes when you have a person on the side of the road changing a tire, somebody whips around, asks if they're having car trouble and shoots at them and drives off, that you would not see that as a threat to the community. and want to get a description out as quickly as possible. So to me, the fact they have not speaks volumes about where this is going.
Yeah, and I think today I saw where there was a video. I don't know if you saw this. It was on Today's Show this morning. They covered it. There was a video somewhere near where he was, but police went in and got it before anybody saw it, or it could be released or leaked anywhere.
Really? What did they find?
NBC reported. They haven't said anything else. They just said they got the video before anybody else could see anything.
Wow. I have to go back and find that. But we know they found the knife there, from what we understand. They found the knife and it belongs to Alex, which would explain how his tire got slit.
I mean, don't he know that stuff matches?
I know, right?
You got sets in your house. Like it matches.
Clearly he does not watch Forensic Files.
No.
No. He's probably never had to, because he's always gotten out of everything.
Yeah.
So Alec's lawyer, Jim Griffin, said that he wanted to make clear that Alec did not self-inflict this wound.
Okay, I believe it. I mean,
right, yeah. So, but if you think back, the only thing SLED has really said about this case is that it was a superficial head wound that he had sustained in whatever happened on the side of that road. But what did his lawyer say today about the extent of his injuries?
So he said he had an entry and exit wound, a skull fracture, minor brain bleeding in 2 places. He says he was told of the injuries by a family member of Alex.
Okay, here's my question. Way back in the day, I worked the medical field for a few years. I got to work down in the ER and all over the hospital, really. And I find it really odd that 2 days later, that a hospital would release a person with an entry and an exit wound, a skull fracture, and minor brain bleeding in 2 places.
Yeah.
That seems like a big liability.
Okay, here's my other question. Why is the lawyer not talking to Alec? Why is the family member telling him?
Yeah, exactly. That kind of makes me wonder. But he's really seemingly pushing this narrative that the more he goes, the more unbelievable it is if it wasn't from the last statement. And I mean, he's breaking the cardinal rule of lawyers: keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, didn't this contradict what the report said?
The report said a superficial head wound.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't there something with and they're saying there may be an error in the report or whatever?
Oh, okay. So what it is Hampton County Police issued their incident report today about last Saturday. And the box that they check for either visible injuries or major injuries or no injuries, it was checked that there were no visible injuries. So everybody got really hyped up about that, saying, well, if he had no injuries, why was he life flighted out of there?
Yeah, we discussed that.
Right. So it doesn't make sense.
Expensive, and it puts other people in harm's way if they need it.
Right.
And he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, you're taking a resource that somebody who really is critical might not have, and that could be a big difference there. It gets a little bit crazier on down, but we'll stay on topic where we're at. But he said that Alec noticed an alert in his car that he said had low tire pressure. So apparently he gets out to go check it. And it should be noted that the car he was driving was Maggie's old car before she died or was killed. So he pulled over and got out of his car. And what went from there?
A blue truck with a man driving passed by and then turned around in the parking lot of the church, drove back to where Alec was, rolled the window down, and asked if he was having car trouble.
Yep. So originally I read that it was a white truck with 2 suspects. So now they're saying it was a blue truck, and his lawyer didn't mention a second suspect. So you see how this is all just nobody believes it.
Yeah, it depends on what day, what's being said. Oh no, it was tomorrow to be a red truck.
Right, yeah.
And turned around in a QT gas station.
Yeah. So Alex said he didn't know if he could change the tire or if he had the equipment to. And then according to Alec, that's when he was shot. Yeah. So, and here's the thing, other than saying it was a male, his lawyer had no other description of the alleged shooter.
That's because there wasn't one. No, I'm just kidding.
Right?
Yeah. That's just it depends on the day. It changes every day. Just when
Yes,
you
it
think they
does.
can't get say anything different, like
Crazy.
yep.
So Alec gave details to okay, so with us doing this remotely, that sometimes there can be a little delay, and we're still working on how to figure out reading when that's going to happen. Sorry. You go ahead with this,
Yep.
Fruit Loop.
It just drugged just a little bit. Oh, I know. So Alec gave details to a SLED sketch artist. SLED has not released that sketch.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, no. I'm not laughing, but
No, but
because they were not happy with it and needs to meet with Alec to get further details. I just see it being like
a stick
Snoopy
figure.
or it's like a stick figure. This is what he looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they say that he's
looks like your father. Oh, okay.
Well, it looks like me. So his lawyer said that he plans to meet with SLED after the first phase of his detox.
I do know sometimes when you go in detox, you can't have any contact with anybody for so many days or weeks or whatever.
Yeah, and I've read conflicting reports on whether law enforcement can come in and get you. I've read some people say yes, some say they can't. So I don't know. But here's the other thing that just blew everybody's mind. His lawyer says a good Samaritan pulled over and took Alex somewhere where they met up with EMS, who then called a medevac. Here's my question. Did EMS see the good Samaritan, or did he make him tuck and roll out of the car? And did SLED interview these good Samaritans? That's my.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big, important deal.
Yeah, exactly.
You would think that SLED would. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you.
No. He's doing the military crawl over to get in the car, like when somebody picked him up.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But I do know this. I used to serve papers at a drug rehab facility, and they would not let us in the building. And I worked for the sheriff's office, so they wouldn't let us in the building.
Yeah.
To serve. We had to serve papers outside.
Oh.
So the resident could walk out and get served, but we couldn't go in the building.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if that.
Yeah. I'm not sure how it goes. I mean, on one hand, he's in rehab. It's giving SLED time to solidify everything, to really look in and see what smells funny, which is probably everything. So, I mean, they know where he is. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to skip the country.
No.
So, and here's the other thing that I think is really weird to think about. That's suspicious. Is Hampton County's statement. They say deputies were sent at 1:55 to the call. But here's the thing. Alec called 911 around 1:30, I think. And that's a big discrepancy when you're talking about somebody who is saying they got shot in the head. To not send authorities out there for 25 minutes or more?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
that's crazy.
it's not like you're calling about your neighbor having a loud party. This is somebody who says they've been shot in the head. I just think that stinks. I don't get it.
Yeah, normally shots fired, that's a little bit different.
Usually they send the cavalry.
Yeah.
It's not like they're busy down there. It's a small town. So anyways, and the last thing on him that we've heard today is that he says he will pay back the missing millions to the law firm. And I just wonder, as a lawyer, he should know you could probably pay it back, but you're still going to get some criminal charges out of this.
Yeah. Oops, here you go. I was just borrowing it.
My bad.
He's got it in his gym bag.
I was going to buy you something really nice.
No, now you're not getting nothing.
I can't wait for all this forensic accounting stuff to come out. I want to see where that money was going.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. All right, let's jump over to Letecia's preliminary hearing, which was today. Crazy stuff. It was supposed to have been 2 days. They went through and finished today. Now, Letecia did not want to appear. So at first,
y'all remember she's representing herself, right? Still.
No, she's got lawyer now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Remember, she decided this is not a good idea.
Yeah, she said, I want to represent myself, and then went back. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she pitched a bunch of fits because she didn't have access to this or that because she's a criminal and she has restrictions on her.
Yeah. I couldn't get in the library.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The judge got really frustrated and he said with her refusing to be in the courtroom, it could be grounds to just advance this to trial because she essentially waived her right to a preliminary hearing. Ultimately, he decided, okay, we'll do it without her. She said she trusts her counsel and she left. Now, this was not televised. So I followed Spencer Wilson on Twitter to get all of this information. He did a great job today. If you want to follow him, it's at Spencer_W News.
Yeah, he did from the get-go. He's been tweeting and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's run down what they said today.
So Gannon was reported missing on January 27th, 2020. It was moved to a homicide investigation on February 3rd. So the first witness they called was Jason Yoder. He's a sergeant of Major Crimes Unit, Santa Rosa Sheriff's Office. He received a call from bridge workers who discovered the suitcase with Gannon's body in it.
Yeah. Can you imagine coming up on that? So the workers emptied the suitcase before authorities got there, and they found the body wrapped in blankets and recognized it to be a small child. They thought maybe between the ages of 9 and 14, I think.
Mm.
He was wrapped in blankets, and there was a pillow in there, and you find out later in the hearing do you remember she posted the picture of him in the bed sleeping, and there was a lot of debate about whether he was dead or alive. It was the same covers and pillow that was seen that morning in bed with him that was found inside the suitcase with him.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And some people say, well, why'd they open it and why'd the workers open it stuff? That's normal. Like when you find something like that, you don't know what's in it. So
right.
It'd be normal to open it.
Yep.
So the medical team came and removed the body. They checked local and statewide missing persons records and found nothing. Yoder was notified of a flyer of a missing child from Colorado, and that was Gannon.
Yep. And so what they found was his body was severely decomposed and he was in a fetal position. They could see injuries on him when they took the blankets off. He had visible injuries. And what were some of those?
So he had fractured skull, gunshot wound to the jaw, sharp injuries to the chest and the back, and cuts on his arms and hands. They said that the cuts to the arms and hands were defensive injuries.
Oh, yeah. And we probably should have put a trigger warning before we started this, but this is true crime and it's never pretty. So they found projectiles in the pillows and the blankets that were in the suitcase with his body. And just by looking at him and comparing it to that missing child poster from Colorado, they pretty much knew it was Gannon. They said the gap in his teeth kind of gave it away. And in the courtroom, they showed a close-up photo of Gannon's hairline that was kind of peeking out of the blankets. Al was in court today, and his mom was as well. And at times, they put their heads down and just couldn't look, obviously.
Yeah. We saw that with Larry and Kay at different times when they were hearing some of the stuff and all in the courtroom. So on cross-exam, the defense asked about how deep the defensive wounds were and asked if they were fatal. He had a total of 18 stab wounds, which included the defensive wounds. Yoder says not fatal, but a contributing factor.
Yeah, so they recovered 1 bullet from inside Gannon's body and 2 from inside the pillow. And they pretty much believe the gunshot to the jaw was what killed him. And the prosecutor asked if the skull fractures could have been caused by dragging the suitcase and going over the bridge. And he just said the medical examiner didn't say. So it seems like that gunshot to the jaw would be what killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they can tell that. And it's weird they didn't have that information, but they did not see muzzle burns on his skin. So it's assumed that he was shot more than 18 inches away. On redirect, the prosecution asked if they could tell whether the gunshot to the jaw or the blow to the head was a cause of death, and they could not.
That's right. That's right. They couldn't determine if that, but the gunshot to the jaw itself, they did say obviously was fatal.
Yeah.
It was a fatal
But
shot.
he was there like he'd been missing a month, right?
When they found the body, yes,
Yeah.
he had been missing a month.
Yeah.
So the next witness was for the prosecution. It was Kevin Clark. He's with the 4th Judicial District Attorney Office, and he does the cell phone GPS, car GPS stuff.
Oh, these guys are amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, these days we know in Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, this was a big part of their undoing.
Yep.
And so I don't know why people drive. I would ride a bike with my cell phone at home.
I'd be taking
Yeah.
I'd ride a skateboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Take my scooter. Yeah.
So the day after Gannon was reported missing, the car, a Volkswagen Taiwan, is pinged going to the airport to pick up Gannon's dad, Al, and then going back home. If you remember, he was out of town. He went out of town 2 days before Gannon went missing and came home the day after.
Yep. So once the car was parked at Colorado Springs Airport, Letecia is seen going into Avis rental cars. That same morning, she had searched for cheap rental cars and rented a Kia Rio for $36 a day.
Yep. And she picks Al up in the Rio and drives home. And that same day, between 7 o'clock and 7:27 p.m., she goes back to the airport and picks up a Volkswagen.
Yeah, I remember that's still crazy why you rent that car.
Yeah.
The car goes from the airport to the Falcon area. She stops in a parking lot for 30 minutes. Law enforcement later searched the area. Cell phone and car data verify this. She texts her daughter, Harley, and searches the web. Her phone is then put in airplane mode.
Yeah, when that phone goes in airplane mode and you're suspected of killing somebody, that's never a good sign.
No.
Yeah.
No,
And here's my question too. You think, all right, we know what happened to Gannon and who did it, but for the sake of appearance, you would think she would want to stay home with Al while this is going on. But then we know she has a body in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's believed that the suitcase was in the car when the officer looked in the trunk.
Yeah. Yeah. It was backed in the carport or something. I remember.
Yeah. So she tracks all over a neighborhood for 15 minutes, and detectives think that she was just looking for anywhere to drop Gannon's body.
Yeah. Yeah. So the phone is in airplane mode, 2 hours?
Yep.
It reconnects, and she is at the Hilton Inn, and also her phone connects to a Starbucks Wi-Fi for an hour.
So during that time, they were able to prove she talked to her daughter Harley while at that Starbucks, and they don't say what the messages were during that time. It seems to be text messaging. She was texting back and forth. And so she leaves Starbucks and goes to Harley's workplace at about 11 p.m.
Yeah. And guys, remember, they're not going to tell us everything. This is preliminary.
Right. They put just
we're
enough
not
to get it
gonna-
in a trial.
Yeah.
But I tell you, what they put out today is bad enough. I can't imagine what else they have.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
So she leaves and ends up at Harley's workplace at 11. Harley was not at work, but she drives to her workplace in her Jetta to pick up Letecia. They get home at 1:23 a.m.
So the next day, some of her family flies in and rents a Nissan Altima. And the next day, it shows her in the Altima at the park where she met the reporter and talked to him. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. So she's outside, kind of in this field area, talking to the same guy whose tweets we are going by here. And I think what's very eerie is there's a really good chance his body was in that trunk yards away from this reporter.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kind of like, with Tylee and JJ, so many news reports done from that field before they were found. For me, it's just very eerie to see that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It shakes me a bit.
Yep. So she goes back to Palmer Lake at 4 p.m., but it seems she is driving by. So it doesn't appear she stops, I guess. She just drives by.
Right. But later on, this is the same area where they found that piece of board with Gannon's blood on it.
Blood on it. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And this was a big revelation today. Everybody was shocked.
This is where they found the board. So big news. Letecia's daughter, Harley, was with her on the road trip to Florida when Gannon's body was dumped. Gannon had been dead for 5 to 6 days at this point. How do you not smell a decomposed body?
They're in that car for 24 plus hours. I mean, this is coming from Colorado to South Carolina, it's a very, very long drive.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't smell a dead body in the trunk that, he's been dead for days.
Yeah.
5, 6 days. I mean, that's just, I don't know. We do know that she is a witness for the state. So if you remember now, she bought the cleaning supplies for Letecia on the day Gannon was killed. And it's really hard to know. Was her mom just manipulative? What did she know? But I think the thing to take away here is she's a witness for the prosecution. So they feel like she's beneficial to them to solidify a conviction for Letecia. And we'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to speculate over what we don't know.
Yeah. So on February 4th, 2020, Letecia and Harley get to Pensacola and check into Candlewood Suites. That reservation was made on February 3rd for a February 4th check-in. The map they were showing is the place where his body was dumped at 4:15 a.m.
It was 3 miles away. I didn't put that in there, but the location where he was dumped to the hotel was 3 miles.
I gotcha. So, and they left Florida and came to South Carolina. She was arrested in Myrtle Beach.
Yes, she was. Were we down there when she was arrested?
It was close. We were either down there or had been and just got home. Yeah.
Because the next time we go down, I really want to stop and see his grave. It's on our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next witness is Sergeant Patrick Yunkin.
I think so.
Yunkin, patrol supervisor. He was third on the scene when Gannon was reported missing. If you remember, runaways are considered non-emergency priority levels, and there were other calls during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, she said he was at a friend's house.
Yeah, and he had taken his Nintendo Switch. He was going to play Sonic, and that he had a tummy ache.
Yep. His body cam footage from inside the house is shown in court. She says she doesn't know if he took his bike unless he did earlier. Letecia said he would have his Nintendo Switch. Remember, she even Googled, can your location be found? Like, what is it by? Can location be found on Nintendo Switch or something?
Very clear planning. But so the sergeant, he looked in closets and rooms, and someone in the background said Gannon said his stomach hurt and he was going to a friend's house to play video games. And you hear Letecia say something about the carpet in the basement. But if you remember, her story was that he spilled candle wax on that carpet. And there's that recording where she's essentially trying to scare him and say, we're going to get evicted. We're going to be in big trouble. And that's the recording where, remember, we listened to it. It almost sounded like Gannon says, I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
Just eerie stuff.
Yeah. So the sergeant opens the trunk. On cross-exam, he says he didn't see a suitcase.
Yeah, and I think it was dark in there. He had a flashlight. I don't know, but the suitcase was not seen at that time.
In the body cam footage, the sergeant is seen going into Gannon's room. He leaves, but Letecia brings him back in the room to talk about a box cutter. She says Gannon dropped a candle last night and she covered it up with the carpet. She pulls the carpet back to show the wax on the carpet.
And I think they're kind of talking to Letecia about communicating with friends' parents. And she said Al is the one who talks to all the friends' parents, and he's the one that pretty much says yes or no whether or not Gannon can hang out. There was something about a picture of Gannon taken by what the witness says was some woman online. And then she said Letecia mentioned some odd text that about bath salts. And I didn't
got it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So at this point, deputies finish up and leave the house, and the video ends.
So on the stand, the sergeant says he didn't see any evidence of violence or blood in Gannon's room. When he came back 2 days later, there was a red, dry liquid substance from the basement to the garage. At the time, he didn't know what it was.
So the next witness is Lieutenant John Sarkisson. I think I said that right. If not, sorry.
Sorry, John.
He kind of ran the command for the search for Gannon, and he was told there was data from the car showing Letecia in Douglas County, and he thought that was very odd that she would be in such a remote area. So this is where they get to the plywood that they found with his blood on it.
Yeah, so they showed photos of that, right?
They did, and it had it was under a bunch of branches, like it had been hidden.
Yeah.
And so when they lifted up the board, there was a dark blood stain. He said the board was about 2 to 2.5 feet, I assume long, and
Yeah.
the presumptive test was positive for blood, and then official results were that it was Gannon's blood.
So on cross-exam, Letecia's lawyer asked if it was moved before the photo was taken. The officer said he put it back down when he saw the blood stain.
So that wrapped up that witness. And then we get witness Sergeant Hubble from El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And they admitted into evidence the photos of Gannon in his bed. And one photo shows Gannon asleep at 8:15 in the morning. And the investigator agrees he doesn't look like he has any wounds on him. And he seems to be alive in that picture.
Yeah, so body cam footage from when the cops were in the house did not show the blanket or pillow on the bed.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm kind of curious about is why was she taking pictures of him asleep that morning? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, unless she was trying to show Al. I don't know.
Maybe it was because he was home from school. If you remember,
Yeah.
he didn't go to school that day because he had a tummy ache.
Yep. Yeah.
So who knows? But
yeah.
So
Go ahead.
On February 3rd, when the investigation moved to a homicide, they brought in the Metro Crime Lab and used Blue Star, which is like aluminol that lights up the blood.
Yeah.
And they show a picture with blood spatter, and there's an area where a stain went through the carpet all the way down to the subflooring. So that had to have been a lot of blood.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They showed a photo of the mattress, and a close-up on the corner showed a large blood stain that was later confirmed to be Gannon's. They found blood pretty much every room from Gannon's to the garage.
Yeah, and the one thing that they said, they called it a full trail of blood. It was just solid when it was illuminated, almost like she drug him through the house.
Yeah.
So if he has a head wound, she's pulling him by the feet. That would account for that being a solid line from point A to point B.
Yeah. So Nike shoes taken show blood on the bottom.
Yeah, and the DNA showed it was Letecia's DNA on the inside, and Gannon's blood was on the bottom.
So they recovered a 9mm Smith & Wesson gun from the master bedroom. Her DNA was on the back strap and trigger.
Yes, and on cross-exam, the defense says there were also 2 DNA profiles on there that were male. One was Al's, but that they weren't suspicious of that. He was gone. And the other one, they never did say whose it was. And the defense asked if there was any worry about contaminating the crime scene. And Hubble said he touched the blood stain on the carpet with an ungloved hand, but he documented this in his report just in case any DNA was left that came back to him.
Gotcha.
So let's get to this last witness.
It was FBI Special Agent Andrew Cohen. He testified that he found no evidence Al was involved in Gannon's death in any capacity. He was out of town 2 days before and came back the day after Gannon was murdered.
Yep. And they also confirmed that Gannon's little sister was at school and Harley was at work. So it was only Letecia and Gannon at home. And he said that Letecia had lied to law enforcement before and fabricated things. If you remember, there was that story about the Hispanic man that was beating and raping her. And it was just such a bad story, and it made no sense. And he pointed out that there was no reports of any kind of abuse before the murders. And Harley was on the witness list, but they did not call her. And I assume with what they put out there today, her goose is so cooked.
Yeah.
They didn't need her to testify today. You're going to save that stuff for trial. She's probably going to tell you what happened with Letecia afterwards.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree.
Crazy stuff. There's not going to be anything tomorrow. They did wrap up today. They got Letecia back on camera. And so I believe September 26th is when the judge will rule, maybe the 23rd or 26th. I'm sorry, my brain's fried tonight. So we'll know then, but they kept her at no bond. And she waived her appearance, which was supposed to happen tomorrow for her escape attempt.
That was when she tried to bust out of the car coming back from South Carolina.
Yeah, there you go. So, but she attacked an officer during that and everything. She lost her mind.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to come on tonight, update about all this stuff between the two. And we will try to, I think we decided maybe Saturday would be a good day to do another one.
Yep.
We'll get something together for Saturday. I mean, at this rate, we'll have a whole episode if Murdaugh news keeps coming out the way it's been coming out since last Saturday. It's been nonstop.
I know, right?
Nonstop. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.